Hello, welcome back to Good Nightmare. I know I said recently that I would try and upload more often, even though I also said that I'm kind of ditching the schedule just because, well, we're all living in the same pandemic. I'm sure you guys can understand it is incredibly hard to feel motivated when both living and working from home and staring at the same four walls every single day and being in lockdown. I haven't been able to leave my house for 2 months or see my family or friends. I'm not complaining in the sense that I know every single one of us is in our own bad little situation and we're trying to make the most of it. So thank you for sticking with me if you have, and welcome to anyone who is new to the podcast. Thankfully, as I was kind of struggling to find topics and things that I wanted to write about and read about and share with you, my mum came through with a couple of suggestions. One of them being something you would think that I would have talked about by now, but I hadn't. And it is one of the world's favourite cryptids, Mothman. If you can hear any chirping in the background, that would be my kittens, Uba and Vitzerk. They just turned 1 recently. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I used to have a cat named Maud who passed away last year. And since we have adopted these 2 little terrors, and they are so gorgeous, and strangely, they have a lot of Maud's personality traits and weird habits. So if you're like me and you believe in not necessarily ghosts, but that the energy of people and animals who've lived before lingering around us after they pass, I think he's definitely still here in some capacity. Also, just as a quick update, I've kind of shied away from social media in terms of the podcast. I mostly just post updates when an episode goes up, but if you do want to see pictures of the cats or the art that I'm making during lockdown, you can follow me at goodnightmare_s at Instagram. I don't really check my emails much anymore, and I don't really use Twitter anymore. It's just overwhelming. And before my battery runs out, let's get into the episode. The Mothman is a creature I'm sure most of us have heard of. Though it is celebrated, it remains unexplained. The Mothman is said to reside in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. While most cryptids seem to originate in early history, the first Mothman sighting was reported publicly on November 16, 1966, in a Point Pleasant Register article called "Couples See Man-Sized Bird Creature Something." The article reads, "It was a bird or something. It definitely wasn't a flying saucer. 2 Point Pleasant couples said today they encountered a man-sized bird-like creature in the TNT area about midnight last night. Sheriff's deputies and city police went to the scene about 2 o'clock this morning, but were unable to spot anything. But the 2 young men telling their story this morning were dead serious and asserted they hadn't been drinking." Steve Mallet of 3305 Jackson Avenue and Roger Scarberry of 809 30th Street described the thing as being about 6 or 7 feet tall, having a wingspan of 10 feet, and red eyes about 2 inches in diameter and 6 inches apart. "It was like a man with wings," Mallet said. "It wasn't like anything you'd see on TV or in a monster movie." The men and their wives were in Scarberry's car between 11:30 p.m. and midnight when they spotted the creature near the old power plant, adjacent to the old National Guard Armory buildings. The creature was seen standing on 3 occasions and was described as being extremely fast, quote, "It flew about 100 miles an hour in a flight, but was a clumsy runner." Deputy Millard Halstead said he had seen dust in the vicinity of a coal field, but it could have been caused by the bird, he said. "I'm a hard guy to scare," Scarberry said, "but last night I was for getting out of there. We went downtown, turned around, and went back, and there it was again," Mallet said. "It seemed to be waiting on us." He said the light grey creature then scurried through a field. It had also flown across the top of the car. "It apparently is afraid of light," Mallet reasoned. and maybe it thought it was scaring us off. The young men said they saw the creature's eyes, which glowed red only when their lights shined on it, and it seemed to want to get away from the lights. They said it looked like a man with wings, but that the head was not an outstanding characteristic. Both were slightly pale and tired from lack of sleep during the night following their harrowing experience. They speculated that the thing was living in the vacant power plant, possibly in one of the huge boilers. There are pigeons in all the other buildings, Mallet said, but not in that one. If I had seen it while by myself, I wouldn't have said anything, Scarberry commented, but there were 4 of us who saw it. They said it didn't resemble a bat in any way, but maybe what you would visualise as an angel. The last time they saw it was at the gate of C.C. Lewis Farm on Route 62. They heard a sound like wings flapping and they said the bird rose straight up like a helicopter. This doesn't have an explanation to it, Mallet said. It was an animal, but nothing like I've seen before. Are they going back to look for the creature? Yes, said Mallet, this afternoon and again tonight. Today, Scarberry said, but tonight, I don't know. A very thorough article, obviously, with 4 witness accounts is an incredible amount. Over the days following this initial report, several other people came forward to report having seen this unusual angel-like creature. 2 firemen described what is now known as the Mothman as a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson believed that what people were seeing was actually an unusually large heron that lived in the area. More unusual reports started to come through as others came forward with their stories. Newell Patridge reported to Sheriff Johnson that he had seen the cryptid. And when he shone a light at its eyes, they'd glowed. Patridge blamed his malfunctioning television and the disappearance of his dog around the same time on the appearance of the creature. However, Robert L. Smith, a wildlife biologist, soon supported Sheriff Johnson's theory, stating that it was likely people were in fact seeing an American crane, a bird that can stand almost 6 foot tall with a 7-foot wingspan and red colouring around the eyes. The crane is not native to the area, so people might not have recognised it as such. In 1967, a year after the first sightings of the Mothman, there was a terrible collapse of the Silver Bridge that killed 46 people. Perhaps looking to find meaning in the tragedy, or at least reason, many blamed the collapse on the Mothman and believed that he was connected to it. In recent years, sightings of the Mothman have extended well beyond Point Pleasant. A 1999 apartment bombing that occurred in Moscow, Russia, was blamed on Mothman after people had reported seeing the cryptid in the area. In 2016, an image of the Mothman was taken by a man driving on Route 2 in Mason County, West Virginia. Sharon A. Hill, a science writer, proposed that it was likely the photo actually showed, quote, a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or snake away, and said there was no reason to believe the image was in fact of the Mothman. As the Mothman became such a staple in Point Pleasant, the town held its first Mothman Festival in 2002. Jeff Wamsley, the event's organiser, estimates that the Mothman is the reason for 10 to 12,000 tourist visits per year. A 12-foot metal statue of the Mothman was created by artist Bob Roach and unveiled in 2003, with the Mothman Museum and Research Centre opening soon after in 2005. When travel is open again, if you wish to attend the festival yourself, it takes place on the 3rd weekend every September. In 2020, in response to the Black Lives Matter movement, a petition was created to replace all Confederate statues in the US with statues of Mothman. This is definitely something I can get behind. As of 2021, the petition has gained almost 19,000 signatures. In my personal experience, the Mothman seems to be one of the most loved cryptids of recent years. Like I said, I am still using Instagram, and we do have a Facebook group. So if you've seen the Mothman, or you have been to the statue or the festival or the museum, feel free to upload or tag me in photos or share your experience under one of the posts. That would be so incredible to hear about. I wish that I knew people who had actually experienced it for themselves. The closest me and my mum have come was when we were driving to Queensland one night and we're driving across a bridge and there was a swarm of moths that were at least 8 inches in their wingspan. And there were so many of them that they actually covered the windscreen and it was near impossible to see through. It's a miracle we got through there. But we said it must have been Mothman coming to, I don't know, visit us on our trip or attack the car because we were entering his space or something. As always, thank you so much for listening, and make sure to check me out on Instagram or Facebook and get in touch. Until next time, sweet dreams.